Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, what I will try to accomplish during this video is to inform anyone who is currently not prepared to see how easy it is to get prepared with the basics and for any crisis that may come your way. Using the $1,400 stimulus payment that is supposedly headed our way, you can obtain everything that you would require in order to be prepared and not have to suffer in the manner that our brothers and sisters in Texas have been suffering over the past several days. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, that if you're not in Texas, it doesn't mean that the same can't happen where you are, because nature cares not who you are or where you are. Nature does not discriminate. I've compiled a list of several items that you can obtain for $1,400 or less, depending on where you live, so that you can be better prepared for the next crisis. So let's get started. The first thing you will need to do with $300 of your stimulus payment will be to purchase the foods that you eat on a regular basis, concentrating on foods that have a long shelf life and that do not require refrigeration. By all means, rotate through it, but this should be an extra $300 of food on top of what you already spend. Don't spend your money on what long-term food storage companies have to sell. I feel that prepackaged long-term foods should be added to your preps after you have gathered enough food to feed you and your family for 1 year. Get water stored away. Try to store a couple of gallons of water per person per day to last you a couple of weeks. In addition, get some disposable bathtub covers if you have a bathtub. This way, if you know that the water is likely to be turned off or become non-potable, you can fill your bathtub in advance. Depending on the size of your bathtub, this should yield you an additional 45 to 65 gallons of water, and it won't take up any more room than what your bathtub already uses. In addition, have a good water filter just in case the water that you have stored runs out. During many disasters, there is plenty of water around, but not potable water. And with a water filtration system, you can safely turn non-potable water into potable water. The one you see here is a mini Sawyer that is set up as a gravity-fed water filtration system at what I think is a pretty decent price. A generator is a must. It will keep your lights on, but more importantly, it will keep your heater running, as most home heating systems require some kind of electricity in order for the peripherals of the system, like the fan, the fuel pump, and the computer system within the unit to work. For example, if you have a forced air home heating system that works on natural gas or liquid propane, there is a way that you can add a power cord to that system that can be plugged into a generator. You would need to look into this and possibly contact an electrician to do this. And in addition, a small generator like the one you see here will also power your refrigerator and power other small devices. The bigger the generator, the better. But this one is big enough to power the pure essentials. A good way to know how big of a generator you will need is to compile a list of the appliances which require electricity and find out how much wattage those appliances consume. Add them together, and then I recommend that you get a generator that is equal to that wattage times 1.5. So for example, if your power requirement for your essentials is 1000 watts, try to get a generator that provides a constant 1500 watts of electricity or more. You will need gasoline in order to power your small generator, unless you have a dual fuel generator that accepts propane as well. Try to have enough gasoline stored to feed your generator and to fill up each of your vehicles at least one time. A small bottle of fuel stabilizer like this will go a long way in ensuring that the fuel you have stored will not degrade for a good 2 years. A way to cook your food and heat water is a must. This dual burner Coleman camping stove is not fancy, but will do the job it is intended to do. Remember to get a couple of 1-pound propane cylinders so that when one of them is empty, you can still use the second one and use this tool right here to refill the empty one using a 20-pound propane cylinder. There are many videos on YouTube on how to do this, so ensure that you do your own research and adhere to all safety protocols when doing this. Some will say that you need a radio. However, if you're on a budget and would rather spend that money elsewhere, you can always use your car's radio if you own a car. If you don't own a car, then a radio is a must. And one like this already has a flashlight built in and various ways in which it can be charged. You all know I love flashlights, but for a simple survival kit, you can get by with a pair of cheap flashlights that use regular batteries that can be easily found. And don't forget to store extra batteries. Just in case, you should have a simple backup heating system that is meant to be used indoors. A simple system like this Mr. Heater 30,000 BTU radiant heater may not be able to heat your entire home to 68 degrees, but it would be able to keep your pipes from freezing and then bursting. Have a couple of 100-pound tanks of propane in order to fuel your Mr. Heater. One that can be used and one that you can try to fill up when it is empty, depending on the availability of propane in your area. To give you an idea of how long a 30,000 BTU Mr. Heater would run on 100 pounds of propane, let me start by how many BTUs there are in 1 pound of propane. 21,500 BTU of energy is stored in 1 pound of propane. Therefore, if you run your 30,000 BTU Mr. Heater on high, you will use a bit less than 1.5 pounds of propane per hour, which means that a 100-pound cylinder, which is only filled to about 80% capacity, will last you about 50 hours. Therefore, 2 will last you 4 days. The more cylinders of propane that you have prepped up, the better. If you are just starting, you don't need to go crazy on first aid. To start off, get a basic first aid kit or make your own. If you take prescription medications, always try to have at least 1 to 2 months of extra medication on hand. Lastly, keep a couple $100 in a safe place that you can get to. Keep it in small bills, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s. This is just in case you are able to still purchase from the local community, but the electrical and or internet infrastructure is down. Many businesses do have a generator to run their stores during power outages, so scout your neighborhood for gas stations and other key businesses and ask them whether they have the ability to run their business during power outages. Do this before the crisis begins, and don't wait until it has started. I have done this where I live, and I know where I can go in order to fuel up should this happen. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be thinking to yourselves, I'm not going to spend my stimulus check to buy all this stuff that I may never have to use. But ask yourselves, do you ever hope to have to use your auto, health, or residential insurance? The answer is no. Even though we pay a monthly premium for all these types of insurance, I'm sure that most of you, if not all of you, would rather never have to use your insurance for what it's intended for, because this would mean that something bad has happened. That is what I have just laid out for you. Insurance. Some things that you may need in order to make your life easier during a bad time, but always hoping that you never have to rely on it. As you see, if you tally up the price of everything I have displayed, you can get all of this with the stimulus check that we are supposed to be receiving in March. If you live in a household of several, then using what you get from one check should be doable, and I hope that you take heed to the warning that there will be more crises. I can't tell you when or where, but I can tell you that there will be more. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me today. I hope that this helps some of you who are on the fence to becoming more self-reliant. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper. I'm out.